Right, time for us now to get into our interactive segment this afternoon. We are looking at matters insurance for agriculture. On set with us is an expert in this field. Let's start by introducing yourself.
Thank you, Irene. My name is Kinoti Fredrick. I'm the one in charge of agriculture insurance underwriting at KBC Insurance Group.
Let's understand what is insurance for agriculture.
This is a topic I think we need to expound more because people might hear about other insurances, but they might not know about insurance for agriculture. Agriculture insurance, just like another insurance product, is a product that basically cushions farmers when they are hit by calamities. And this means calamities like weather-related perils, diseases, or even uncontrollable pests.
We have not got so much information on this type of insurance. Where do we have the gaps in this?
This product is a product that came into existence in late 2007 to 2008. And, you know, basically the population in this country has some negativity towards insurance because of maybe their past experiences. And therefore, when agriculture insurance came into play, it became a hard sell to our farmers. But we have put in measures through other stakeholders and also the government intervention to make sure that farmers also get insured so that they also get cushioned when they're hit by calamities. But still, there's a very huge gap in terms of information that is trickling down to the farmers, which still requires a lot to be done so that every farmer in this country can always look at insurance as a way of life.
From where you sit, how do you intend to have this information to that farmer in Bungoma, in Eldoret, in any other part of the country? Okay,
when you look at farmers in this country who contribute to around 70% of the employment in the rural areas, we are looking at farmers who are vulnerable because weather in this country is so unpredictable. And as you know, if you look even at the last season that we have been having, farmers have been suffering because of El Nino. And it was a short-lived El Nino. It was for like 1 month. But in some areas, it has extended even up to February. So how do we get these farmers to know about insurance? It is through trainings. Because remember, our farmers are clustered into smaller units wherever they are. Whether they are doing maize, you find that farmers have their own units where they get trained by different partners. So through these partners, we need to have partnerships that will help this information get down there to the smallest holder that we have in. For example, you talked about Bungoma. So we need this farmer to know that insurance exists, and therefore we need to code this message into a language that is understandable by them, because people say that insurance language is a bit hard for them. So we need these farmers to know in their local languages. And therefore what is required is collaboration between partners so that we can get every farmer in this country to know what insurance is all about and how they get help from this insurance. So as at KBC, where I work, remember KBC is a cooperative-based insurance company, where we have close to 30 branches now in the country. And you find our way of working is that we work more through the cooperatives. And remember, cooperatives are in every county in this country. So you find that we have farmers who are doing coffee, and they have their own coffee cooperatives. We have farmers who are doing dairy farming, they have their own cooperatives. So we trickle down this information through the cooperatives. First by holding meetings through the cooperative movement, and then the smaller units where the farmers, the members of the cooperative are, then are trained so that they can also get this information to them. And through that, we have seen so many farmers getting interested into insuring. Now the challenge comes where, yes, I want to insure, but do I have the purchasing power? So through the same cooperatives now, farmers will get a way of getting soft loans or small loans to insure whatever assets they have. So it's something that requires a lot of collaboration and partnerships with other players in the sector.
Talking about parties in power, we have the government, we have the members of parliament.
Yes.
Do you think there are policies that they need to put at the fore to enhance this information to farmers?
Yes, I may say, Irene, since 2014, the government put their hand into helping the penetration of insurance, especially agriculture insurance in this country. And we saw there was a lot of effort from the World Bank and also other key players like banks to help the small farmer, mwananchi, down there to get insured. And one of the things that they did is that they put in a subsidy program whereby, because of affordability, farmers were running away from insurance. Now, what the government is doing that for every farmer who is growing a staple crop like maize, if you insure 1 acre and maybe the premium is 3,000 shillings, what the government is doing is that they are paying for you 50%. And then the farmer pays the other 50%. That way, they are making it affordable to the farmer. But with time, they need to teach the farmer that, yes, the government is putting subsidy now, but it cannot be there forever. So the farmer will have to embrace that within some timelines, then they are able to pay these premiums by themselves. So there's a lot of effort that is being done by the government. There's also a lot of effort that is done by the private sector, because some of them are even going ahead to come up with products that are cheaper to the farmer in terms of index insurances. Because the traditional insurance that we offer is usually very expensive to administer. Therefore, you find that most of the farmers will say that instead of putting money for insurance aside, then we buy another extra bag of fertilizer. So because of that, we have come up with innovative ways. And you find a lot of farmers are taking up index insurances. That is like the rainfall index. You're only covering whether there is rainfall or no rainfall through the satellite. We have also seen instances where farmers are also doing a soil moisture index, where you monitor this from the office. You don't have to go to the farmer. The traditional way, you have to go to the farmer, and therefore all this cost of going to the farmer, doing your own verifications, you have to pass it down to the farmer in terms of premium.
In other words, you're saying
Yes.
you're doing farming the digital way.
Yes.
You've talked about the subsidy program.
Yes.
When we come back, I would like you to tell us what percentage of farmers are benefited from this program and what they think should be done to improve the program.
Okay.
You're watching KBC, the Launch Team News. We are taking a breather. When we'll be back, we'll be discussing more on insurance for agriculture. Stay with us. Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. You're watching the Lunch Team News. Before the breather, we were having an interactive segment with Fredrick Kinoti, the underwriting manager at the CIC General Insurance Company. This deals with various insurances, and on this hour, we are looking at insurance for agriculture, just where we left it at. Bwana Kinoti, how was the subsidy program uptake?
Okay, when we started in 2015, basically we were looking at farmers in 2 counties, that is Embu and Nakuru, and also Bungoma. Those are 3 counties. And during that year, the first year, we were only able to register 20,000 farmers. In 2019, we were able to get close to 700,000 farmers into the subsidy program in that 3 counties. So that shows you that the gap, the efforts that were put in to bring these farmers on board. And therefore we believe, because we believe in Kenya we have almost 80% of our population being farmers, then with efforts from the private sector, the government and any other stakeholders or people in the value chain, then we're able to get close to even 20 million within a very short period. So the efforts are where the rubber meets the road. Yes.
Away from that, how do underwriters assess and manage risk specifics, especially on agriculture?
Irene, you will know that many of our population run away from agriculture. And this is because they usually say that agriculture is a bit risky. And they find it not a fashionable thing to be doing. And that is why we have left it to the older generation. But now we have seen so many other young people coming up to do farming, because also they need to do some job creation, and also they need to employ themselves. Now, for underwriters, we are looking at crops throughout the country, but we have to do it physically, where you have to go do assessment of the environment first to see whether the crops that the farmer has said is planting are suitable for that location. We also have to look at historical data, because for you to know what you need to insure, then you need to go back and see if this farmer has been planting maize in Nakuru for the last 15 years, what has been the weather like for the last 15 years? What has the production of this farmer been for the last 15 years? So that you know at what level do I need to insure him. But also, we are looking at other remote ways of doing inspections, or looking at the risk altogether. That is where we also looking at satellite data, so that we can check for the longest period, farmers who have been planting in Nakuru, what has been the weather, and then what has been the production. And therefore, the biggest challenge that we might have with our farmers today is that they don't keep data. So we have to mine this from other sources, especially the Kenya Bureau of Statistics. They have a lot. The Ministry of Agriculture, that is why they become an integral part of insurance, and they are the first people that we want to seek authority from, so that they can be giving us this data. We also need to go to maybe KenyaMet and try to mine as much information as possible, so that we know the kind of risk that we're getting into.
With all these challenges and with the transition to the digital space, how are we incorporating the youth in agriculture?
The youths of this country, basically, they don't see agriculture fashionable. But in the last 5 to 10 years, we have seen so many of them trying to embrace agriculture in their smaller way. And we thank the government because of the infrastructure they have put in, especially even through our banks, so that they are able to loan even to people who don't have a title deed or an asset to exchange, so that you can get the finances. So in the yesteryears, you could not go to a bank and get money. But these days, a young person might go to the bank, tell the bank that I want to do ABCD, and they get loaned. And that is where you're seeing there are so many young people now who are doing dairy farming, for example. There are so many of them who are doing poultry farming. And there are so many of them who are doing even pig farming around the cities. Therefore, we are seeing this venture growing into a multi-billion venture, especially when the youth come into it. These are the people with technology, because it's very hard for you to teach the older farmers how to do things better. But the youths are the people who can grasp things very fast.
Very, very interesting, Kinoti. But then there is also the issue of climate change that as a country and as a continent, let's say the world, we're trying to cope up with. What are the strategies and opportunities we are looking into for us not to fade away from these projects?
Okay. Basically, Irene, if you look at how our weather has been, over the last 20 years, I was trying to see the number of times that we have got droughts in this country. It's uncountable, because now droughts are happening every 2 to 3 years. In the yesteryears, this was happening maybe once in 5 to 10 years. But the frequency of droughts now and the severity that comes with it is too immense. You find that every 2 to 3 years, a farmer is suffering some drought. And that is why now insurance is coming in. You find that, like last year, we had a drought starting in February, March, and then towards the end of the year, we experienced some El Nino. In some areas in this country, farmers are not even able to harvest up to now because of the rains that are continuing. I have a farmer in Narok who is not able to harvest is sorghum because of the rains, despite the temperature that we have. So basically what we are doing is that we are pulling out a book to do underwriting, because you need to underwrite all these risks. You need to put all these things into perspective to be able to know how do I charge farmers for premium, knowing that in the next 2 to 3 years I might be called upon to pay a claim. So it is becoming a challenge to insurance companies, but we are coming up with innovative ways, especially the index-based insurances, so that we're able to accommodate all these farmers at an affordable price so that we don't lose them. Because once these farmers go down, then believe me, the economy will also suffer, because remember, agriculture is contributing almost 30% of the GDP, and therefore we need to keep agriculture alive. For us to do that, then we need to do things that will not destroy our environment, especially by taking care of our environment, our water towers. And I've seen today the CS, or these are consortium that was looking at water availability. So it's something that we need to take into effect, and we need to think about properly as a country.
And when you talk about water scarcity,
yes,
what do you think we should do as a country for us to, now you see agriculture plays a very key role when it comes to the country's GDP, but all this come together. They have to work together.
Yes.
Where do we think we have the gaps? And this, in your closing remarks, water is the way forward to the society at large,
yes,
even as the youth, you say, shy away from agriculture.
Basically, water is a key resource when it comes to farming. And we have seen where farmers have done it through irrigation. Remember, much of our farming in the country is rain-fed. And that is why we find we get so much heat when our environment changes, or when we are hit by climatic changes. Now, for us to move forward, we need to preserve our water towers, because this is where we'll get waters to be able to irrigate our crops, especially the horticultural crops, which are fast-moving crops and they're fast-growing. So for us to do that, then we need to make sure that where we get our waters from, we are well protected. We also need to preserve rainfall water by doing good water harvesting mechanisms, which will help us preserve water to use in our irrigation. So I would think that's something that the government has started, and we have seen in the previous maybe 1 or 2 years, we have seen so many people come up with water harvesting mechanisms, where we are doing sand dunes, where we are doing shallow boreholes to keep water to harvest. We go to Narok now, there's a lot of water that is lying in pools, so that the animals can feed or can use this water during the drought season. So that is something that we need to continue doing, so that eventually we'll have enough water to irrigate and also to use for our livestock keeping.
Just before I let you go, are we on track as a country, even as we try as much as we can to produce our own food?
Yes, I would say we are on track, because looking at what we have now, farmers are getting fertilizer on time. Farmers are able now to afford some of the chemicals. Though the economy is banned, we have seen farmers diversify to other crops that are resistant to drought. We have seen farmers diversify also to grow crops commercially. We're moving away from subsistence farming. We are farming for our own families. Now we have seen even as farmer with a small acreage, they are trying to do something so that they can also be able to sell at the end of the season. So despite the challenges that we have, farmers have to keep on farming. And we're also seeing that the land-scale farmers that we have in this country are also doing a lot of diversification on the crops that they are farming. They're also doing now the traditional crops that we are moved away from. So I still think we are on the right track, and maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, we might be food sufficient if what the ministry is saying is something to go by.
Thank you. Thank you. Fredrick Kinoti, the underwriting manager at the KBC General Insurance Company, telling us what we need to know when it comes to insurance for agriculture. Looking forward to have you again on this set. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Irene.